What's up, guys? Welcome to Meathead Mentality episode one. And we are joined here with Llion Evans. Um, this is a very much a thing I wanted to do for a while. And I just want to say the reason why I started this podcast is basically to talk to people who have extreme amounts of passion. Um, the reason why I basically set it up is because I want to be able to show bodybuilders and people on social media who I believe who actually really do give a fuck and actually have passion. Because honestly, everything I see now are just people who are basically just faking it and they don't actually love the sport. So yeah, that's why I've created this. And the first question I want to ask Llion is, who are you? Where are you from? Who is Llion Evans?
Who am I? Where am I from?
Yeah.
Well, so you're already struggling with my name. So right, okay. So I'm from North Wales, and what else?
Just like, what is your early life like? Who are you? Like, where are you
Right.
from? Basically, that just start off with, yeah.
So okay. So I'm from North Wales. I'm from a place called Blaenau Ffestiniog. You will not be able to pronounce that. And I first started training when I was 14 years old. I had my first gym set when I was 14 years old. And then from 14 up until 21, that's pretty much all I did. Weight training, rugby, just getting strong. And then from 21 to 23, that was a bad patch in my life. Well, yeah, it was a bad patch in my life. And then from 21 to 23, I just stopped training altogether, which was a shame because when I was about 15 years old, I was about 15 stone at 15 years old.
That's fucking heavy. That is really heavy.
I was about 15 stone at that age. But one day at 23, I looked in the mirror and it was unrecognizable, basically. I thought, what the fuck has happened to you? Because I've always been around sport, always been around rugby or professional sport in one way or another. And then I just didn't recognize myself. And then from there on, I said, right, okay, you're going to get your shit together now. And that's what I did. So at 23, I started going to the gym again. And then at 24, I did my first bodybuilding show. So I did my first bodybuilding prep in one summer. So maybe that was, I don't know, 12, 16 weeks or whatever in one summer. And then I did a first timers show from there. And then I won my first show. And then after that, I decided maybe a few years later that I wanted to get into coaching. So I got into coaching a little bit late. I think I got into coaching when I was 27. So
Okay,
yeah,
that's quite late for nowadays.
yeah, I got into coaching when I was 27, and that's what I've been doing since. But from the age of 20 to 27, I was working in construction basically.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, that is my life in short, I think.
yeah. But obviously, we'll go into that in more detail because these I've structured the questions in terms of basically like almost progressive throughout your life.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of. So the first thing I'd say is, have you always had a desire to be involved with physical sports when you were young? Like, obviously, you say you do rugby and obviously bodybuilding now, but when you were really young, like before you were 15 and everything, were you attracted to physical sports and just like those activities?
Well, I think I had good role models as a kid. I was always, around sport. I was always around fitness. I was always around weight training as well because my uncle was a bodybuilder. So I had,
Oh, really?
yeah, I had good role models at a young age. But also, when you're young, you're into watching, like WWE and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think through watching WWE and my uncle, and also playing rugby as well, I think I did have good role models to go down that path of physical activity. But I've always been super competitive as well.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
I can't do anything casually. Like if I was going to play, I was going to try and be the best at it. You know,
Yeah.
I was going to do athletics, which I did. I was going to try and be the best at it, and that's the same with bodybuilding. Like I know a lot of people say it's it's you against you, but it's fucking not. It's you against everyone else on that fucking stage.
Mm,
And
mm.
that's just the mentality that I've always had. I just can't do anything for fun. I would never be able to do five-a-side football or seven-a-side for fun. It would always have to be serious, basically, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, I'd say you mentioned your uncle being a bodybuilder. What would you say regarding your family and like your those situations that period of time? Who really inspired you to go ahead with weightlifting? Because obviously lifting at 15 and getting into the gym is very young. I didn't start till I was like 17. So who would you say inspired you the most to get into lifting weights and everything like that?
God, I don't know. I don't know. Nobody taught me how to lift weights.
Yeah,
Nobody showed me the ropes or anything. A gym set turned up at my house one weekend, and that was that. That was it. Nobody taught me how to bench press. Nobody taught me how to do a shoulder press. For God's sake, I was doing 500 sit-ups in the shed at that age because why not?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Why not?
how I was. And then obviously the school had a gym as well. And then because the school had a gym, I was there lunchtime lifting weights. And then at the after school club, I was there again lifting weights.
Yeah,
So they had machines. And back then, I was just trying to max everything out. Just
yeah,
every machine
yeah.
was the thing, just to max every machine out. So no one actually taught me how to lift weights, even though I had an uncle that was a bodybuilder. He never showed me the ropes and he never taught me how to lift. I I've done all that myself. I've never had that.
Yeah. Just mentioning about school and everything, what was your life like with school? So, did you obviously you went to like primary school and everything? What was your experience going to secondary school? Did you go to university? Did you go to college? What was that period in your life like?
Okay, okay. So obviously, primary school, secondary school, what have you. And then I went to college then, but it was a public school. So it was a
Mm,
public school. So I did 2 years in a sixth form that was called Canterbury College. And that was on a rugby scholarship.
yeah,
So for 2 years, I did that. But in that time, man, we really got obsessed with lifting weights because the gym, no, the college or the school or whatever you want to call it, had a phenomenal facility. And I think
yeah.
then when the interest of bodybuilding, really,
Because you're in that space.
eh?
You're in that space of that good
Yeah,
gym, and that's just sort of it's natural, isn't it, to get
yeah,
into it?
like
Yeah,
everyone, although we were a rugby team, but all the lads were into bodybuilding because back
yeah,
then it was simple. And back then they were better days because we didn't have Instagram or TikTok or Twitter or whatever else. All we had was YouTube and the Flex magazines.
yeah,
So I came up in that era, and your pre-workout meal was watching Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler going at it for the Olympia, with your pre-workout. And then the gym was just across the field to where we were staying. So times were simpler, and there was none of the bullshit that's going on today, basically. There was just lifting weights and fucking heavy iron. There was no 1 million variations of how to do a lateral raise or a fucking lat pull down. You just fucking lifted something.
yeah, yeah.
And how, that's where we built our base. There are some
Mm,
lads that I've got on social media, they will remember. We were doing 4 plates or 4.5 plates, and some lads were doing 5 plates. on squats at 17, 18 years old. Because we didn't know any different. You know, we were just going into a fucking cage, and that's what it was. We were going into a cage and just lift. And
Yeah.
that has gone. You know, the beauty of that has gone because people want the easy thing now. They don't want to
Yeah.
do the thing that's hard anymore. Anyway, I've gone on there, haven't I?
Yeah. Don't worry, we'll get into that. That's a massive topic I want to talk about, but don't worry. Absolutely agree there. What I'd say is who obviously during that period of time, was there anyone who inspired you? Like obviously you talk about Ronnie and Jay, but those are the people who inspired you to like basically get more into bodybuilding in the gym, or was it other people around you at that period of time?
I think it was just I was always trying to be the best that I possibly could. So
Yeah.
I don't think I ever chased anyone. I don't think I was, inspired by anyone in my circle, but you could definitely be motivated from the environment that I was in.
Mm,
So everyone wanted the same thing. Everyone, wanted success. Everyone wanted to win the Rugby Cup or whatever. So everyone was elite level, So
mm,
everyone was either rugby academy or high level rugby. So when you are amongst that sort of environment every day, like not just sometimes, but every single day for 2 years, you have no choice but to level up. That's the only thing you are going to do by being around people who are basically elite themselves.
yeah. So you'd say it wasn't necessarily like your inspiration didn't exactly come from like just other bodybuilders. It was just basically being in that environment with other rugby players who are basically just striving for more, and that
Yeah,
ultimately made
yeah,
you hungry because you're
yeah.
just having to like,
Super competitive. If we were doing walking lunges and we had, I don't know, a bar and a plate aside on our backs, if someone did 20 meters, the next person would want to do 40 meters. And
yeah,
then someone would want to do the length of the pitch and back, even though there was no need to do the length of the pitch and back with a bar on your back doing lunges. But that was the competitive streak of the environment that you were in, basically.
that's a shame because that's completely gone now. That's sort of just doing more, but I don't want to waffle on about that. But what I want to ask you as well, with rugby is so what position did you play and what team did you play for? I know it might be difficult to pronounce the Welsh team, but what position did you play and what level did you reach in rugby in terms of like, yeah, your rugby career?
Okay, so in terms of rugby, I played for North Wales Rugby, and then I moved on to Rugby College, and then I did a little bit with Scarlet 16s up until 20s. So that's sort of academy and that sort of top level schoolboy rugby. And
Yeah,
from there, I finished my days playing for Chester, which that was semi-professional rugby in England. So that's where I finished. I finished due to, I don't know, I would say politics. I would say politics. And then after that, I stopped playing altogether when I was about 19 or 20.
that's quite young actually.
Yeah, I stopped playing at that age because I was just fed up of the politics that came with rugby. There's a lot of politics in rugby. If you think there's politics in bodybuilding, there's a lot of politics in rugby.
So I don't know if a lot of people play rugby who will watch this, but what do you mean by politics in rugby? I sort of get what you mean, but if people don't understand watching, I think just a little explanation of what you mean.
Okay, I'll give you the best possible example. I started playing for a team that was decent, and I was on the bench when I first started. Obviously, because you start for a team, you start playing for a team, you're on the bench. Anyway, I came off the bench and I scored 3 tries. The next game, they put me starting, so they put me in the starting 15, and I played well for the starting 15. Now, the team had split the dummy basically because I was the young kid on the block, and I took the position of someone who had been playing for their team for over 10 years. And because I took his place, the coach rang me and said, I'm going to have to put you back on the bench because the team is refusing to play if I start you
Oh,
X. So
yeah, and so,
if I put you in the starting 15,
yeah, that's
that's very political.
yeah, that is,
Mm.
and that's quite shocking because that is a good level. You think that's sort of more about like grassroots rugby clubs where it's just sort of like they're all mates, but
Yeah,
would you say because of that situation that happened, did that just completely deter you from progressing in rugby?
I stopped. I stopped after that. They kept on ringing me for 6 weeks, and then I just didn't pick up the phone. After that, I thought, I've had enough of this. I don't need this. It doesn't pay enough. I was being paid, but I wasn't being paid enough. So
Yeah.
I thought, no, this isn't worth it anymore.
Okay, so do you think rugby, if you didn't do rugby, you wouldn't be bodyboarding? And that's the big question.
No, I think I would have ended up doing it. I,
Anyway, without rugby.
because I wanted to do it when I was 16 years old, but I wasn't allowed to.
Why was that? Because of your family?
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to because they wanted me to play rugby, basically. Well, no, my mum didn't want me to play rugby, but my dad really wanted me to play rugby, so I wasn't allowed to do that. I was basically primed to play rugby. That was what I was supposed to do. That's what, that was his dream. And I think he was living his dream through me, basically. You know,
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, yeah. That
at,
that
at 16, I wanted to do bodybuilding. I wanted to compete naturally at 16. And I never got to do that. So I think I would have picked it up anyway, but I would have even picked it up earlier. I would have picked it up at that age and I would have competed at that age.
yeah.
I was good at that age, especially for a natural that age, you know. So yeah, I think I would have picked it up anyway.
So with rugby, what would you say? I think a question that I think is quite interesting is how did your nutrition change from being obviously like a full-time rugby player, then going into bodybuilding? How did your nutrition change in terms of that period?
Well, I was still at school. I was, still living at home. So things change dramatically when you leave home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Obviously, when you're in school and stuff, you have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner and stuff like that. But obviously, when I moved out and I started doing bodybuilding, all that changes. But that being said, even though we were in, a private school or college or whatever, every one of us had like, a grilling machine. So
yeah.
the protein that we weren't getting, enough through college, we were getting it ourselves, you know. So, oh yeah, it's changed a lot since then, nutrition wise. But the times are different as well, though. You're
All the
talking,
cream rice.
you're talking a very long time now. So yeah,
Okay, so would you say, obviously, like you tell me that like rugby wasn't necessarily the defining factor which got you into bodybuilding because you would have got into it anyway. Would you say rugby has had an impact on you in terms of your mindset and just everything physically, maybe? Do you
yeah,
think it's had a massive impact on you?
definitely, because I was in academies at a very, very young age. I had a strength conditioning coach at 15 that was an ex, no, he was in the RAF at the time, and he had done about 30 years in the RAF as a, what do they call them? PT, what do they call them? PCO or whatever, you know, like they're PTs in the army.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Anyway, he was a PT in the army, you know, for military people, basically.
Oh, like a personal trainer, but actually for like military people. Oh
Yeah,
right. Oh right. That's pretty
yeah.
cool.
So I had one of them when I was 15. You know, so
Yeah.
when you've got someone like that in your life at 15 and he's telling
Yeah.
you to do hill sprints for an hour and then you've got to pull your mates up the hill and then you've got to pull your mates up the hill as well. And then at the top, you're spewing your guts out. And then the instructor says go back down and then go and do another sprint. Then your mindset changes, but
Yeah.
for the better, you
Because
know?
at a very young age, you're getting influenced in that discipline very young.
Yeah. We had hard training at a very, very young age, like
Mm.
brutal, you know, training.
Yeah.
So that makes you stronger.
Yeah. Okay. So what I want to ask is what drew you into competitive bodybuilding? Because obviously, like you say, like oh, you were into the gym and everything, and but with competitive bodybuilding, because obviously bodybuilding and competing, they're very different. So what drew you into that? Was it just going through the motions of just being doing into the gym and everything, or was it just like
I went to watch a show. I
yeah,
went to watch a show, and I didn't know much about bodybuilding then.
yeah,
I looked at everyone on stage and I thought I could beat everyone there, even though I probably couldn't. But that was the mentality that I had, and you know, I think that's the mentality you have to have. And I looked at everyone, I think I could beat everyone there. I
yeah,
could do this. Obviously, everyone laughed at me, but I said, no, I can do that. And then from there, I entered the show, and that's what I did. So I think it's always a case for me of being in pursuit of being the best. Even though I'm never going to be the best, I will try and be the best.
that's all you can do, isn't it? Be the best version of yourself
Yeah.
possible. So tell me about your first bodybuilding prep. What were the challenges? What happened? How obviously doing a prep for the first time, it's going to be a very impactful thing. So just tell me what you faced during that process.
Right, okay. So I came from a life of going out all the time, of really going out all the time. And then I went to a life of regimented and doing a prep. And I did that in maybe 12 or 16 weeks. Now, the first prep that I ever did, I didn't do any cardio at all. I didn't do, I didn't do Stairmaster, didn't do anything. I wasn't even being told to do steps, but I still got into really good shape. But calories were low, and I think we were on zero carbs for a
Oh,
very long time. Uh,
zero.
yeah. We were on zero carbs for a very long time. Sometimes we were, sometimes we were having carbs here and there. Sometimes we were having I don't think it was a refeed for the sake of us to have a refeed. I think it was for him to see how would, I don't know, 300 grams of carbs look when we've had it. You know, it wasn't because, right, you're having a refeed to basically drop fatigue and make you feel better. It was, right, I want you to have 300 grams of carbs, so I want to see how 300 grams of carbs look, basically. And then that diet, that was 6 meals a day of fish and eggs. So meal
Really?
one was fish and eggs, meal two was fish and eggs, meal three, meal four, meal
Really?
five. Yeah. And then by the end, you'd be down to just fish. So that was my first experience of bodybuilding.
Damn, that is trenches.
Um, yeah, yeah. But I fucked up my peak. And I don't think it's my fault because I was very new and naive. And I was basically told to carry on eating. So I had rice cakes and whatever else I had. But the only thing I was told was to carry on eating. I wasn't told, right, okay, have meal one at 9 o'clock, have meal 2 at 12 o'clock, just carry on eating carbs all day.
Yeah.
And I've got this, I don't know, it's either an obsessive personality or an addictive personality. But if someone tells me to do something, like I won't stop. Like if someone was to tell me, right, you're gonna have to eat now, and you're gonna have to carry on eating until you can no longer eat, until your jaw hurts. That's what I would do, and that's what I did. So I ended up eating about 72 rice cakes in that day.
That's mental.
The only carb source I was allowed to have was rice cakes. So
Yeah.
I wanted to carry on eating. And that's what I did. And then I went to the gym the next day, and he was like, "What the fuck have you done?" Well, I ate 72 rice cakes. Why? Because you told me to keep on eating. And that's what I did. So I'm very coachable in that sense, because if you tell me to do something, that's what I'll do. So
Yeah.
although people laugh at that story as if it's my fault, that was the instruction that I was given. Just carry on eating.
Yeah. There was no actual amount. You just ate as much as possible,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
I messaged him late at night and I said, right, I'm gonna have to stop eating now. My jaw is hurting. And if my jaw wasn't hurting, I would have carried on.
Kept, yeah. That is funny. Um, what I'd say is so how old were you when you first competed? And obviously that is enhanced, wasn't it?
Yeah, 24.
24. Okay. And what show was that? What federation? Was it one of the old ones, or was it a Welsh one or something?
It was UKBFF when they were still part of the IFBB,
Okay.
the real one.
Okay. Um, obviously, if anyone doesn't know, I don't want to say a name because I'll just butcher it again. Llion. Um, the conditioning he gets, if you look at any of his Instagram, it's unreal. The conditioning. I'm not sure about your first show, but the things that I've seen on Instagram are just insane conditioning. How do you reach those levels of conditioning? What is that pain, and what do you have to go through to get to that level of conditioning?
You've got to completely detach yourself from everything and everyone. You got to live in a box, basically. A lot of people on prep, they become food focused, and the only thing they think about is food and how hungry they are, how starving they are. But you've got to train your mind to not think about that. You've got to tell yourself, I'm not hungry, I'm not starving, there's fuck all wrong with me. You've got to become that, and you've got to ignore everyone around you, because a lot of people, in your personal life are not going to get it. People in your personal life are going to see you get really, really lean and really, really thin, and they're going to get really concerned. And when that happens, they're going to tell you, you don't look well, oh, you look ill, I think you need to stop now. You need to stop talking to them for quite some time, because they don't get it. So that's pretty much what I did. For 6 months of the year, I slept on the couch, and I did that because I thought that's what I needed to do. I basically go into some sort of regimented state or mindset that basically I am basically going to war with this, and I'm going to get there one way or another. Now, you do have to train your mind somehow to achieve that level of conditioning, I would say, because it's not for the faint-hearted, not everyone.
No.
And that's why you see so many people turn up out.
Soft.
That's why you see so many people turn up with, not dug out hamstrings and not, feathered quads and striations in their chest, because it's difficult. It's
Yeah.
hard, but it's as hard as you make it. You know, if you
Mm.
say that everything is hard, it's going to be fucking really hard. But if you are in a constant battle with your head, basically, you are in a constant battle with the voices in your head, because you will have days where you don't want to do things, you don't want to go, you don't want to do your steps, you don't want to get off the couch,
Yeah.
you don't want to move, but you have to basically be in competition with that voice all day, all day. But somewhere down the line, you're going to conquer that voice. I had a consultation with a, what would you call it? A sports psychologist. I had a consultation with a sports psychologist. That's probably not what his profession is, but I had a consultation with a guy called Louis Davis, very popular guy. He's with Carly Davis. And what I got from that 45 minutes to an hour with him was absolutely priceless, because the things that he said to me and the way that he said things really set me up to actually going to be able to achieve the shape that I did. So I would say you've definitely got to work on your mindset. You can't just expect to go into a prep and achieve that level of shape or conditioning with the same sort of mindset as if you're just going on a cut, because it's
Yeah.
there's dieting and then there's taking it to the bone. So
Mm.
what does it take to get there?
I think you've explained it pretty well.
Just an unbreakable mindset. Just
Yeah.
nothing is going to phase you, like nothing. You know, you. There were some nights that I was only having an hour and a half sleep because I wasn't able to sleep, which was concerning for my coach. You know, because I was telling him I've only had an hour and a half sleep, 2 hours sleep, but I was getting on with it.
Yeah.
You know? Most people wouldn't get on with it. You know, most people, if if they are starving hungry in the middle of the night, they will go into the fridge. If they feel like they've got a hole in their stomach, they will go into the fridge. Most people, if they've had an hour and a half sleep, they would fucking sack it off, you know? So you've got to have an unbreakable mindset to do that. But that mindset that I've had, that's been ingrained in me since I was a very young age. Like,
Yeah.
let's back to the beginning. I had my first gym set at 14. I had my first strength and conditioning coach at 15, who was working in the military. So I've basically done the reps at a very young age, which has,
Mhm.
primed me for anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think what's really interesting what you say is the fact that like that sort of that box, like in that tunnel vision mentality of getting in prep, because it's almost like by you isolating everyone around you and just being so locked in, it's almost like there's no escape for like to obviously go into the fridge or whatever and cheat, because you're just so like there's no external influences affecting you. It's just strictly I've got 10 weeks to get shredded and this is the goal and that is it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a big strain on our relationship. I think she was going to leave me in the first prep because
Yeah.
I was that regimented and I was just not available. I wasn't available emotionally at all. But also I had no sense of humor either. If
Mm.
I also had no interest in any conversation. And even if I would have the energy for the conversation, I didn't want to know because it was taking me away from the thing that I was trying to do. Now, that will sound horrible to a lot of people. That will sound as if I'm a bad person to a lot of people. That will sound as if I'm a bit of a prick. But it's not that you're a bit of a prick. That is how I needed to be in order to achieve the goal. Some people don't have to be like that. You know, some people can still go out and socialize. Some people can still sit at a restaurant with their Tupperware while everyone else is eating. I didn't want to be a part of it, you know?
Yeah.
Someone said, oh, do you want to come out? You know, you can bring your food prep. No. Like, why would I want to do that? You know? So there's no right way or wrong way to get to where you want to be. You've just got to do what's right for you.
I think what's important to say is for everyone listening is like what I've got out of that is I think everyone knows what it takes to be the best version of themselves. It's just about basically ignoring those temptations. Like everyone deep down knows like have you actually done as much as you have you done your steps? Like because like you can say you have, but have you actually done as much as you can? And that is all that person dependent. Like that it's just like have you done the max? And if you don't, then you're not going to get the max reward from that.
Yeah.
And that's important to say.
The trouble is with bodybuilding though, is bodybuilding still loved for bodybuilding, as in the art of bodybuilding? Or do people just love training and lifting weights and building muscle? Because there are so many people good at doing, you know, the athlete thing of lifting weights, doing your steps, doing your cardio, doing your 60 minutes on the Stairmaster. So many people are good at that, you know? And people are able to say that, yes, I left no stone unturned. And then you watch them pose. And then you look at their posing and then you think, you don't love bodybuilding. Don't say that you love bodybuilding. Because if you love bodybuilding, you would be a better fucking poser.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes, you suffered. Yes, you struggled. Yes, you did your steps. Yes, you did your cardio. Yes, you did your training. But did you pose for 45 minutes 3 times a day? No. And that's why you pose like a dickhead. And that's why you stand out like a sore thumb, even though you've got a phenomenal physique, and even though you've got the best physique on stage, you are going to get beaten by the guy who has better flow and who has better posing. Why? Because you can be fucked. So it begs the question to me if people love bodybuilding or they love building muscle and getting in shape. They are two different things that people don't quite get at times.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's very true. We'll go into that more because we'll talk about the mindset behind training in a minute. But I just wanted to talk like a little bit more about your competitions. So what would you say the main thing you took out of your first prep and then you took into the following preps? And how many competitions have you actually done in total and where have they been? It's
Okay.
quite a lot. Just
the first prep that I did was the best feeling I ever had. And I'm never going to have that feeling ever again. It's just the best feeling in the world that I competed, that I did the thing, and then I came off stage and I started crying. Not because I was upset, but I was like, fuck, this is overwhelming. And this is the best feeling in the world. I need to do that again. So when you do your first show, it's going to go a little bit like this. I don't want to do this again, or fuck, I want more of that. So that sprung me going into my off season for 2 years. So I did a 2-year off season. And then by then I was 20, yeah, by then I was 26. When did COVID happen?
2019,
Yeah.
2020, 2021,
Yeah.
about those 3 years.
I did my first show at 24, and then maybe I was 25, no, 26 or 27, 26, and then COVID started to hit. So I wasn't able to do my second show because of COVID. But during COVID, you know, by the time where a lot of the restrictions were, you know, normal again, a lot of the restrictions are uplifted. I did my second show with Two Bros or NPC. And then from there, that was my second show, which I did novice bodybuilding. And then I won that. So
You won the class.
uh,
You won the class.
yeah.
Did you? And then did you get into the overall? How
My
did you
first
do?
episode I won, and then I entered on the same day. I entered open heavyweight, so I'm not really sure what open heavyweight is. Maybe 225 pounds and below. I could be wrong, something like that. And then I came fourth in that. And then after that, I shut it down basically. I shut it down until 2023. So when did COVID finish?
2021.
21.
I think so. Yeah.
So from 21 until 2023, I took another lengthy off season.
Well, 2 years.
Yeah, I took another lengthy off season. So I've had two off seasons that have lasted 2 years apiece. And then from there, at the time, I would say that I still was classic at the time. I still was classic at the time. So I did classic. That
And
year,
what show was that in 2023?
Two Bros again.
Okay.
Two Bros again in 2023, and then I came second in that show.
Was that in the class? You came second in the classic
Yeah.
class. Okay.
And then I didn't compete after that. I was meant to do a pro qualifier, but I didn't go through with it because I think I overcooked. I just over dieted. I was just wasting away. I got into really good shape, but it doesn't matter what we were throwing at me, food-wise, nothing was sticking. Just kept nothing was sticking. So we shut that down. And then 2024, I did one regional in classic, came third, and then I did the pro qualifier in 2 weeks' time with Two Bros again, and then I won my class, and then I went to the overall, and
Was that for the IFBB Pro card?
yeah, and I would say obviously they don't say what you come in the overall, but judging by that lineup, I would have come second in that basically,
Yeah,
and then
that's what I thought.
from there I went to Sweden. I think that was my worst luck ever in Sweden. And then from there, I wrapped it up. I wrapped it up a little bit.
So was that in Sweden? Was that under the pro qualifier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I came fourth there. But that was my worst luck ever. So I did well to come fourth. And then from there, I wrapped it up. I was going to compete again in the autumn in 2024. But I just didn't look the same. The amount of muscle that I had lost during the run up to Sweden and trying to go back into a prep. It just wasn't, the look was shit basically. So
Yeah.
we wrapped it up, and then from there, maybe, I don't know, I took a break from coaching for maybe 2 months. And then when I got back with my coach, we had a conversation about going into open, so super heavyweight. And I've been around bodybuilding for quite some time now, so I know how big they are. I know how big open bodybuilders are, or super heavyweight bodybuilders are. Like, you don't appreciate how big they are until you see one backstage, and when you stood next to them, you realize how big they are. So there's work to do. And
Yeah.
People think I'm big, but there's levels to big. So I don't want to turn up until I'm big enough.
Yeah, but there's no point because obviously you're not classic anymore. You've got to be way too heavy now, haven't you?
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think the big question is obviously that IFBB Pro card in mind. I mean, you came second in that show, that pro qualifier. So you told me that you're going to compete again in 2027. Is that right? So what I'd say is, what is your mindset, and what are you doing to prepare to maximize your potential to getting that pro car in 2027? What steps are you taking, which might be different to your previous preps, or what you're doing to maximize your result in that show in 2027?
The biggest one for me is eating and making sure that my digestion is in a good place, because I'm not good at eating a lot of food. You know, a lot of people have to push their food up to maybe 6,500 calories to grow. But I started this gaining phase last year in September, and the highest my food has gone up to is 5,400 calories, which is not a lot of food for someone who has weighed, 295 pounds. But my issue with myself is making sure that I'm able to actually eat, because I have a lot of gut issues when I'm in a surplus for too long, or when I'm eating a lot of food. And that's always been something that's held me back. So
Yeah,
in classic really suited me, because I didn't have to eat a lot of food.
yeah,
I was up to 3,008, 4,000 calories, and that was no problem. So when it comes to eating a lot of food, that's the one I need to manage. So in order for me to get to where I want to be, I need to make sure that, I eat foods that sit well with me and that digest properly. If I throw in too many, processed foods and stuff like that into the mix, then my body just rejects it, unfortunately. I have to eat clean. I have to eat as close to single ingredient food as possible. But to try and do that in a lot of volume is difficult. I can't have, the square bars, I can't have the muffins. I can have cereal until I no longer can. So I have to have, cream of rice, and it would have to be maybe plain. It would have to be plain cream of rice, too much artificial sweetener and stuff like that. It just ruins me. So that's the main thing for me. The process is the same. You take the same amount of PEDs, you train exactly the same as you always have. But for me, it's nailing my digestion in order for me to actually grow, because that's always the stumbling block for me to actually grow.
yeah. That makes sense. Um, just a genuine curious question. What foods do you really enjoy? What's your favorite food?
So she told me the other day what I eat, and at the moment, this is all I eat. So I'm having eggs in the morning with sourdough.
Is that like in the pan with some oil or whatever? Is it scrambled or
Just,
hard boiled or
just on the pan, yeah.
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 Yeah, yeah, no
Eggs,
problem.
sourdough, and then from there it's potato and chicken meal two, and then it's potato and chicken all the way up until meal five, and then for meal five is salmon and potatoes, and then the last meal of the day is a yogurt bowl with high protein, high fat. So I don't
So,
have I don't have rice anymore. Rice doesn't sit well with me. I have one cream of rice meal a day, because I can only eat cream of rice in the morning. So if I can't eat cream of rice in the morning, I can't eat it at all, because it doesn't sit well with me.
yeah,
To go over that again, eggs in the morning, sourdough, meal two, cream of rice, peanut butter and chicken. And then from there, it's potato meal all the way up until meal five, and then last meal of the day is a yogurt meal. So that's how simple my diet is. It's just a shitload of potatoes and chicken.
does that bother you?
Uh,
Do you like chicken potatoes? It's what it is, isn't
You're a
it?
bodybuilder, you don't care, do you?
No.
I think, you don't care. I think when you're a bodybuilder, you don't see food the same as everyone else anymore. You just see it as right next.
You.
I need to get that because I need that, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, I can make my food taste better or look better or whatever, but I'm just not that person, unfortunately. If I did a day in the life of my eating, it just all look like shit.
Yeah. Not the pretty stuff you see on Instagram.
Yeah.
Uh, well, what's your favorite cheat meal then? What's your favorite like off-plan meal you'd have, or just type of meal?
So it's always the same. It's always the same. And I think I keep it the same because you're still able to track it, which is a strange obsession, but you're still able to track it in some way, and that will be either be 2 burgers and fries or 3 burgers and fries.
Where's that from? Any place particular?
I'll do it myself.
Do it yourself, make it yourself.
Mm, Yeah,
Nice.
because if you do it yourself, you know what's in it.
Yeah.
You know.
And also, it's going to be healthier, isn't it? Because it's like, obviously, if you have like a McDonald's or something,
Yeah,
the meat they use and whatever, we don't actually know where it's from, really, do we?
that's it. I'll have a pizza sometimes, and then I'll have a Chinese sometimes, but consistently it's burgers and fries at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nothing better than a home cooked meal.
No.
No. Um, we're going on to the juicy areas now, which is training and everything. Um, the first question I have is, I think you talked about this a little bit at the beginning about going into the gym and just like basically picking up the heaviest weight and iron and just giving it your all, not overcomplicating everything. How would you describe your mindset when it comes to training? I mean, that can be obviously at a young age to now. What is your mindset towards training in the gym?
Hmm. How is my mindset in the gym? I always have to go to the gym, which has been my demise, I would say, since the beginning. That I'm always going to lift heavier than what I did in the last session. Not from week to week, but from session to session. Doesn't matter what I do. I'm not gonna go to the gym and do the same. If I've done 6 plates Monday on push, and I've got push again on Friday, then I'm gonna do more on the Friday. I've never trained like a powerlifter. I've never trained to get strong, but by actually pushing myself as hard as I possibly can every single session, I've just gotten stronger. That's just simple, basically.
Yeah,
So that's definitely my mindset in terms of training, and I think you need that. I do think you need that. You need to be going into the gym trying to beat anything that you've ever done before, and whether that's yesterday or last week. You know.
yeah. And how would you say you like approach those sets when like you've got to add more load and you know you've got to basically take those reps which are difficult? What was your mindset towards that? What's your attitude towards in terms of like attacking sets?
So I'm very good at going into my own head and training as if there's no one else in the room. And that's always my mindset. Even, if I'm in a big gym or if I'm in the garden during COVID, I had a deadlift bar in the garden during COVID and I was doing 6 plates in the garden, you know. So it doesn't matter where I'm at, I have this ability to basically blank out everyone else in the room. There's no one else in the room when I'm approaching a bar or I'm approaching a set. The only thing I see is the bar. Like whoever is about, I can't see them.
Yeah,
I think that's been my way of being able to lift out the way I have over the years. Is because a lot of people they have that imposter syndrome, or they care about making a noise, or they care about leaving out a noise, or they care about what other people think of them whilst they train. I've got this attitude of no fucks given. And I've reached that place, I think, where a lot of people can only even dream of reaching that place. Because I don't care about, what people think of me. Whether people think good or bad of me, it doesn't matter to me. So I think that sort of mentality and mindset has basically got me to where I am at with numbers in the gym. But also, if you approach a bar and you lift that bar and it feels heavy, it's not happening. It's
Yeah.
not happening. If you approach that bar and it feels light, then you mentally prepared yourself properly
Yeah.
for that set. If
Yeah. Put that out.
that's not the case, you didn't prepare properly for that set. You can't go into the sort of sets that we do and have a chat with your mate before it and just walk up to it like it's just any other normal day.
Yeah.
And over the years, I think I've had a lot of shit for that. Not to me, but plenty behind my back.
Yeah.
Not approached by it, but plenty behind my back, and people that don't get it. I've been told to be quiet in so many different gyms. I've been told to tone it down in so many different gyms, and people who are built like fucking tennis players.
Yeah.
Like you do not know how it feels to lift 6 plates off the floor. You do not know how it feels to bench 9 fucking plates on a machine. And unless you know that, unless you know what that takes and what it requires from someone, fucking be quiet.
Yeah. I remember the first time I discovered you, it was I told you about this before. I was on like Instagram and your reel came up of you doing like a 290 kg stiff-legged deadlift on prep. And I saw that set and I just was like, I just commented like, that's absolutely insane. Like the intensity, I was just like insta follow. This guy is like on it. And like the thing is about training is like as you said, like people don't understand. Like and obviously like you are like different level to me. I'm a newbie, like you're a different level in terms of strength and everything, muscle. But that same mindset of like heavy weight is like people don't seem to understand that like you have to attack it. Like there is no, you can't just go into it and lift it. It doesn't work. You literally, you won't even be able to move it.
No.
You've got to just, and that's the problem about making noise. I mean, I've been moved from 2 gyms because of noise, and I'm at a gym now. I'm last leg. We're talking about a couple of days, and that's it. But that's definitely very important what you said about attacking those sets and basically people who look like tennis players having a go at you for sure.
You have to. You have to. You have to. Otherwise, it's not happening. You can do it in, if you just want to build a little bit of muscle and you want to be in good nick for a holiday, every year, you want to have abs and stuff. But if you want to do bodybuilding, it's not the same.
Yeah, and we both know what it takes to take that progression, especially if you're like on a prep. Like I've not been on a prep, but the diet, and I just can't imagine how much that would take out of you physically, not having that calories, not having that body fat to protect you from that heavy load.
I said to myself in the prep that up until 2 weeks out, that I was always going to straight leg deadlift 6 plates. That was the goal for me for that prep. Because in my head, it was like, if you could straight leg deadlift 6 plates all the way up until 2 weeks out, you haven't lost any muscle. You have done the job.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. Even though that was difficult, energy wise and, feeling fatigued and stuff like that. That's what I did. And then at 2 weeks out, I pulled the plug on that because I knew that the work had been done.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say separates you from every other bodybuilder? I can give you an answer, but I want to know what you think. In
Every,
ter- no, what separates you? Just like what is one thing that separates you from everyone else in terms of being a bodybuilder, being a weightlifter? Would you say what?
I don't think everyone, because there's a lot of people like me out there, but I understand the question.
Yeah,
Uh, what separates me from?
But not everyone, but like let's just say like
I understand what you're saying.
yeah,
What separates me, I think, is just work ethic.
yeah,
Work ethic. Yeah, work ethic and mindset. That I think that's where it is. I'm a bit of a nut job, I would say, and I think you have to be a little bit of a nut job to do this.
yeah,
You can't you can't do bodybuilding and you've never had trauma. You just can't. You know, trauma builds the body. So I would say it's that. And, you know, I've had that before bodybuilding and I will probably have it way after bodybuilding. It's just basically work rate.
yeah.
I could be wrong. You know, you might have a different answer. So yeah,
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, I think the best bodybuilders are facilitated by trauma. I mean, you can look at a lot of them. I mean, Dorian Yates had so many problems when he was younger with his father leaving him, and he was in and out of prison and stuff for drinking. You know, you've obviously got people like who was it? Oh, I was trying to remember. Kevin Ravoni, who was a
yeah,
fantastic bodybuilder. His father died. Those
yeah,
sort of people who ultimately are the best bodybuilders to ever live,
yeah,
their training was facilitated by trauma. Lee Priest, he got bullied in school for being gay or whatever. You know, those sort of people, how good they've got is through past experiences, like you
yeah,
just said there. You know,
yeah.
and I think that's no other better proof.
No, no. But I think once you've got that goal of wanting to be a good bodybuilder or take it as far as you can, then your mindset changes anyway. You know, in comparison to someone who just goes to the gym after work because they're trying to stay in shape or they want to be healthy or they want to be fit. That person is not going to train as hard as someone who has a way bigger goal than that, you know?
Yeah,
And that's, you know, bodybuilding will do that for you as well.
I'd say, have there been moments that you've wanted to like quit bodyboarding, or there's been a severe doubt of carrying on or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This year, I've had that tug of war with myself a lot this year, and I've never had it until this year. Um, in 2024, I really believed that I was going to be a professional bodybuilder. I really believed it. In my head, I knew that I was good enough to be a professional bodybuilder in classic. I just knew the right place at the right time, the right show going to happen, but it never did happen. And because it didn't happen, and because I was just so fixated on this thing, and you know, that was my only focus. You know, I let a lot of things go in my life just to focus on this one thing. Yeah, that was the only thing that I gave a shit about. You know, nothing else mattered. And then because I didn't achieve that thing, I think that's why I've had the thoughts of calling it a day a lot of the times this year. So I've had that a lot this year. And then I went on holiday this year. And then I've come back a totally different person. Not because of the holiday, but because I haven't had a break. I hadn't had a break from work, from coaching, from bodybuilding for, I don't know, 3, 4 years. And then coaching is going really well. It's going incredibly well. More well than I ever imagined. Ever imagined. So because of that, you know, your days are longer and you work a lot more. A lot
Yeah,
more. You know, most days are anything between 14 and 16 hours now, most days. So because of that and training, I think I was mentally exhausted without me even realizing, because you know a lot of people talk about fatigue, and I like to talk about fatigue, but there isn't an off switch button with me. You know, I don't think in that way. I don't switch off in that way. Even if I'm yawning on the way to the gym or I'm yawning throughout the whole day or wherever, I'm just going to keep going. And I think I got to the point where I was sick of training, sick of bodybuilding, sick of everything, and I couldn't even figure out why, you know. And then I went on holiday, didn't train for 2 weeks, and then once I got back into training, I then realized, fuck, you still love this, you still enjoy this, you still want to do this, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it was just mental exhaustion. And a lot of people were telling me that I was mentally exhausted. You know, a lot of people were telling me that I look tired, that I'm not the same. A lot of people were telling me that you don't look happy, or are you okay? You know, people were seeing me at the gym and think, fuck, he's not okay. Um, but I was the only person that wasn't seeing it because I was more focused on everything else. And then I went on holiday. And then I realized, oh, okay, well, actually, yeah, you were. You're not a robot. You're not, you know, you're not superhuman. You have to take a break like everyone else sometimes.
It's a thing called, I don't know what it's called, but it's some sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, like a theory about when you go on holiday, in terms of what it does to the mind. It almost like it's where it separates you from like your regular life. It's almost like you're going like breaking away from reality in a way.
Yeah,
It's called something. I just can't remember what it's called.
it's
Um,
that is definitely true. That's definitely true because I didn't train when I was, you know, when I was on holiday, obviously,
yeah,
but I came back feeling refreshed
yeah,
and ready
but
to go again. And I needed that. I didn't even realize how much I needed that.
yeah. I'd say, do you think the discipline you have currently, do you think that's something you're born with, or do you think that's something built over time? Do you think as bodybuilders, do you think the discipline is something which is just ingrained, just been born, or is it just something that's built over time, would you say?
It's built over time, and it can be built over time for many reasons. It can be built over time because that's what you really want to do. You know, you're working towards a goal and that's what you really want to do. So you're going to be disciplined regardless. But it could also be a coping mechanism for other things in your life. Because if you have structure, routine, and direction, and a goal and focus, then it takes you away from other things that are going on in your head, in your life. So by you staying on this path, it it stops you from thinking about other things. And by you staying on that path, you don't have time to think about, you know, things that are going on in your life and your stresses in your life and your problems in your life, you know, for other people now. And it keeps you on the straight and narrow, you know. So when people, you know, they have a breakup or they run into, you know, family problems or wherever, it's that routine and structure and that discipline is what's going to get them through it. So I think for me, I have experienced so much that if I didn't do this, then I would have too much time to think about everything else. And then from
Yeah,
I would be,
lost.
yeah. So
Yeah,
you need that discipline and you need that structure of focus in your life. Like, you know, you look at, you know, teenage kids or whatever that, you know, that haven't got a goal, that haven't got direction. And then you look at a kid that, you know, that goes to school, that, you know, does well in school, has a goal, has direction, like yourself, who's going to excel the most? You know? So I think
Well,
having discipline, it can be because of a combination of things. For me,
yeah, very interesting.
I needed bodybuilding because
Yeah,
I was going out too much. That's all I was doing. I needed bodybuilding. So, you know, a lot of people, they get into bodybuilding and they get health implications. And a lot of people get into bodybuilding and they didn't succeed in their head because they didn't turn pro in bodybuilding, or they didn't do very well in bodybuilding in their own heads. But the thing is with bodybuilding, it's not like any other sport. It's not like playing football or playing rugby. It's it's against you in bodybuilding. As long as you keep on getting better year after year, consistently, that is your win. But some people don't get that, and unless they've achieved this card or this sword,
yeah,
underachieved. And then because of that, they start slagging it off.
yeah,
Slagging it off, they start making out how bad it is and telling people how bad it is. And then they start, doing other sports and stuff and tarnishing bodybuilding. So I can't be that person because one day, you have to give her up one day. But I'll never be that person who does that because I needed bodybuilding at the time. Bodybuilding saved me at the time. So I owe a lot to it. So I'll never.
yeah. I think the main thing about bodybuilding what I've experienced is not actually a sport; it's a lifestyle. Like you've got other sports, and obviously it depends on what level you play at. But like, let's say like you play football, you play like I don't know, a couple of games a week, like training session a week, and that's it. With bodybuilding, it starts from the morning. It starts from waking up and doing your cardio, doing the meals, doing the training, everything. The whole day, your whole life is regimented on bodybuilding.
Yeah,
Everything is affected. Everywhere you go, every minute you sleep is affected, and
yeah,
that gives you so much purpose.
yeah,
And I think what you're talking about like going out and drinking, is just the lack of purpose.
yeah,
And I think so many people go out throughout life and they just don't have a purpose because obviously bodybuilding, you know what you're doing the next day and the day after that. You've got
yeah,
that purpose to go again and again and again, and it's amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what it gives you. So, people talk about discipline, but a lot of people they depend on discipline. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of us do, me included.
yeah, for sure. I just want to talk about your training. So I don't want to get too controversial here with all the science-based stuff, but your training style doesn't follow the evidence-based training we see nowadays. Could you explain your philosophy behind training in terms of the exercises you do and everything that comes to training? And what's your opinion on what's going on with training? And that's quite a broad question, but what do you think, and how does that compare to your own training? What's going on now?
Okay.
It's quite a big question that I can debunk it if you want.
My own training is different to what it is today because I came up at a different time.
Yeah,
Because I came up in a different era and a different time, like I said to you, following the magazines and following the Ronnie Colemans and the Jay Cutlers and the Bram Warrens of this world, then I'm obviously going to be influenced by them because I came up in a different time. So,
mm,
the training that we see today is just a new era. So I don't think we can compare two eras. And I think today people might be over analyzing things too much and not training hard because you can do what they do today as long as you train with intensity and there's actually intent behind what you do.
but yeah, but as I said this quite a lot on my Instagram. I think these people, And this is what I truly believe about the science situation. And I understand what you're saying, like it's not comparable between the two eras, but these people don't actually really care. Like I understand, like, and people sort of think, oh, they're just trying to be optimal, but I generally don't think these people have a passion because you seriously can't go into a session, do one set of like a cuff pull down and have fucking fun doing it. Or what is the intensity you can get? And like in terms of intensity and what I believe, and I don't know if you agree or not, your intensity can only, I think, it can only be truly like learn to its highest capability doing heavy weight. Because ultimately, let's say you do a bench press, right? And for you, let's say you get 60 kilograms, and it's really like what the intensity of that is, you could do this like 1,000 reps, right? And your intent towards that set isn't going to be like you're all like in that zone and everything because it's just so light because it's so light. But let's say you put 250 on, you've got to get into that spot because it's so heavy, and if you don't get in that spot, you're not going to lift it, and that ultimately facilitates intensity. Would you not say it? Because obviously, if you do a 60 kilo bench, where's the intensity? I know, like if you're doing it for reps and reps and reps, but it's just so easy. Like it's just like where's the intensity? Because even if you didn't try, you could still do it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Have you ever spoken to one of them?
No,
How do you know if they don't enjoy what they're doing?
because I don't know. Obviously, don't know like 100%, but I just can't see how you would do one set of a cuff raise.
No, you and me can't because we enjoy our training for what it is. But I suppose everyone has their own thing. Even though, the way a lot of people train, they're not going to, they're not going to pack on a ton load of muscle. But maybe that's just the way they like to train.
See, I think I understand what you're saying, and I think that is a division because I think you've got people who probably do enjoy that, and I think you're probably right. I think that's safe to say that people might actually just enjoy going really slow and doing really lightweight. But I also think there's a side of it when people are just doing it because it's a trend.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think and on Instagram people don't understand because they get angry, but a lot of the people who are on Instagram they are just rage baiting people. Like you see like these clips people do like excessive like stuff with all this like wraps around them and everything. That is generally just for views. And like they do not train like that. I guarantee they don't train like that. And people have sent me all this stuff saying, "What's your thoughts on this?" I'm like, they don't train like I can guarantee they're just doing it because they're getting. You look at their profile, 300,000 views every video.
A lot of people ask me about this, and what are your thoughts about, science-based lifting and stuff like that. But it honestly doesn't come up on my radar.
Mm.
I don't know why it doesn't come up on my radar. It doesn't come up on my algorithm. So the things that are going on, I don't see them.
But they're bad. That's
I don't see them, but I also don't really concern myself with it either. And the reason why I don't concern myself with it either is because I've got enough to do myself. I've got so much going on myself that, if some kid wants to do a 20-second eccentric next to me, which I've seen, I've seen people
mm.
doing forearm exercise on the
Oh,
kick,
yeah, yeah.
and they're doing this like really, really slow on the fucking cable. And yes, I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing? But I don't have time to really concern myself with them either,
Yeah, I understand.
you know. So yeah, in terms of science-based lifters, I get this often. I get people messaging me about it all the time, and it, it just never comes up. Because I think I'm just following people who train properly.
I think the problem with the science-based lifters is like that they obviously they do what they do and they post and everything, but it's the fact that they attack on people who train hard. I think that's the main thing. Like they make like videos saying like, these people they're not doing the right biomechanics and saying this is rubbish and everything. And that's where it starts. I think that's where all this beef is created from, is the fact that they're insulting like meathead lifters and then it's just back and forth. If you understand what I'm saying. I think that's basically where it comes from, that sort of that negativity in lifting.
Yes, yes, I do. And I get that. But this goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that I'm so focused on myself that I don't give a fuck what other people are doing. And I
Yeah,
think that's what people need to do. They need to be less concerned about what X is doing and what Y is doing and what Z is doing, and just focus on themselves. Uh,
yeah,
don't let it ruin your day, basically. Because if it's rave-based content and you are taking the bite, then it's doing exactly what it was supposed to do.
yeah. I think the problem is like compared to like your time of bodybuilding when social media wasn't a thing, it was just go to the gym, watch Ronnie and Jay or whatever. Is social media has damaged bodybuilding in a way because
Definitely.
there are just the constant like the feeling of being judged is just crazy because like there's almost like there's only like one way to do something nowadays. There isn't like loads of different ways. You can't be unique. Everyone's gonna be the fucking same. And if you're different, then you'll get 100 comments having a go at you, and
Yeah,
that really affects people, man, for sure.
true, true. I I appreciate good machines. I appreciate good quality equipment. Um, but there are only so many ways that you can stimulate a muscle, and there are only so many times in a session that you can stimulate a muscle. You don't need 100 different variations to hit a bicep or your lat. You only need two or three.
Yeah,
You know, when you're doing back training, you need one overhead variation. You need one row variation, and then you might do a pullover. What else do you need?
rear delts probably maybe.
But the amount of exercises that people do, or that they have, that's the part that I don't like. I don't really give a shit about the science-based lifters as such, but I don't appreciate when people overcomplicate the wheel just for the sake of sounding intelligent. Because no one's reinventing the wheel. It's already been it's already been invented. When it comes to training arms, or when you come to train your legs, a leg extension is going to do what a leg extension does. And then that's the same with hack squat or leg press, or if you're doing a V squat, or if you're doing a front squat instead of a hack squat, it all does the same.
Yeah,
That's my gripe with the industry. But I do think, time and attention and eccentrics and stuff like that. These are the little things that annoy me. That have gone a little bit mad. That people train too slow, and don't train hard enough. That's where training is lost nowadays. That people don't train heavy and hard enough. People train really slow and really light. And sometimes people jump on with me in an exercise, on a machine, instead of making someone wait. And I've told people before, speed that up. You need to be faster. Why are you lifting that so slow? You're stronger than that. You need to try harder. You need to work harder. So for me, I would say my gripe is the way people train, and not so much the people, the nerds, because they can do what they want. I'm not bothered about that. But I wish people would train harder, because that's no longer a thing. Because the gym environment is not the same anymore. Gyms back in the day, the spit and sawdust gyms, you had no choice but to train hard. Nowadays, you know, you go into a gym, there's got a sauna, there's got a jacuzzi, and all those things. It's got a cafe and all those things. It just
Yeah,
pulls people up, and then you've got the equipment on top.
it's almost too much
Yeah.
that people just like forget to even think about the basics, you know.
Yeah.
You know, people don't regard the dumbbell press, people don't regard the dumbbell row, people don't regard the barbell row or the deadlift. Now it's just, you know, people are doing, I don't know if you've seen this, you probably haven't, but people are doing like art, you know, like a hinge, but they're doing it like a cable row and they're just going back and I'm just like and I think the main thing about this is it's just fucking easy. Like it just is easy and that's why they're doing it. Because doing a machine, you know, doing this on the cable, that is nowhere near the same level as picking up a 100 kilo dumbbell and rowing it. They're not even comparable.
Don't get me wrong, evolution is good. It's good. Because if things wouldn't evolve, then we'd all still be on a Nokia.
Yeah,
But today you've got an iPhone or a Samsung or whatever, and then that's the same with training.
yeah,
Instead of doing a dumbbell row, you would be doing a plate loaded single arm row. So things have had to evolve, and things have evolved for the better, you know. But just because things have evolved in terms of technology and equipment and stuff like that, doesn't mean that you can get away with training. Um, you can get away with training not as hard because you still have to
yeah.
train hard.
Mm,
It's okay to use the machine. It's okay to make the most out of, you know, the top of the range equipment that the gym has, but you've got to train hard still. And if you watch, you know, a JP, then he's all machine based training.
mm,
He might do, you know, an SLDL, but he is all machine based training. You never see him do free weights, but he
not anymore.
trains really hard on the machines.
He
So
used to do free weights though.
yeah,
Like, you know,
you
his
know,
training's definitely changed a lot in the last few years.
we mustn't get away from intensity of training. And I think your gripe, your biggest gripe with the science-based lifters is that they don't train hard. If
Yeah,
they trained hard with what they're doing, you wouldn't be as bothered, I don't think.
yeah,
Because they train light and, you know, not with good intensity or high intensity, you know, you can't take them seriously,
yeah.
you know. Like if you look at a John Jewett, I would say, you know, he's quite science-based, John Jewett, but he's also got that neat head thing about him as well.
Mm.
You know, he's a very good example who is a bit of both.
I think JP's a bit of both in modern times, in a way.
Yeah, he's definitely a bit of both, I would say, but he's got the knowledge.
Yeah, like that.
When
Yeah,
it comes to training, he's got the knowledge. So yeah, I was coached by him for a year or two, so I know that.
yeah. What I'd say in regard to what we've just been talking about is how would you draw that line between training hard and then obviously overthinking? Like, where's the sweet spot? Where does it? Where's the equilibrium in that?
When you say overthinking, do you mean overthinking your?
Overanalyzing, you know, basically living off literature and spreadsheets, basically of data or whatever, science based. What's the point where like it's all like you're just living on the cable station or you're just living on the dumbbell rack? Where's the sweet spot to be in terms of training?
That has to come down to what you enjoy. If
Yeah,
I had a training plan off someone,
yeah,
um, it was a back training plan that was all cable, all of it, like the whole session was cable, and I didn't enjoy it. I really hated it. So I did my own training, even though I was being coached. I did my own training because I really did not enjoy that. So
Yeah.
that's the line. You've got to have an element of doing what you enjoy, but you have to have a big element of what's going to get you the most result. And that's where maturity comes in, because if I still did the things that I enjoy, I would still be doing flat barbell pressing, and I would still be doing barbell squatting, because I was good at them and I enjoyed them. So when it comes to bodybuilding, a big element of what you do has to be, this is what is going to get me maximum results. I might enjoy doing dumbbell shoulder press, but that machine over there I'm going to get more out of that, and that's not going to tax my rotator cuffs or my joints as much. So yeah, that is the biggest one for a lot of people. I think that holds a lot of people back by continuing to do just what you enjoy, and by not doing the thing that is actually going to get you to where you want to be. You're going to be held back. You're just going to be.
I think what I want to ask you is, obviously that's honestly like completely true, but do you think that that sort of process of like doing what's necessary to be the best bodybuilder, do you think that has to be done like at a really young age? Because like I feel like being young, you need to see what you need to try everything and see what works for you. See fail, do hard things, do unoptimal things, just to have fun, see where your limits are. But I feel like people don't do that. Like there are people at my age and they've never ever really pushed the boat out with weight on like a hinge or anything. They've just lived on a cable since they started and they've never really known what it is like to push their limits. And if so, like you can obviously always cut back and reanalyze so like what's going on with your training and everything, but surely it's good to push your limits when you start off and then obviously gradually get better instead of just staying in that comfort space the whole your lifting career. Does that make sense?
Where we are at now in 2025, you can speed up the process. You can speed up your own journey. And the reason why you can do that is because you have access to every pro bodybuilder on Instagram. You have access to the likes of JP on Instagram. You've got access to the likes of Kuba on Instagram. And you can hire a coach that has been there and done that and has done all the mistakes and has learned from all the mistakes, but can also stop people doing the same mistakes as they did. Me included, and everyone that I've just mentioned included. So they will definitely make you test your limits, but they will speed up your own process by only getting you doing things that is actually going to get you maximum amount of progress. So that's what youngsters need to do nowadays. They need to take advantage of where they are at, and they need to take advantage of the times that we are in, because this is the best time to be a junior or teen bodybuilder, because you have the access to everyone. You can just DM anyone, and anyone that is a decent person will get back to you. But you can also join a member site like the JP member site, and they might have about 20 pros on there that you can just pick their brains and chomp their heads. And maybe you can watch like a John Jewett on YouTube, or you can watch, what's he called? Mountain Dog. What was his name before he passed away? I can't remember his name. Anyway, you can watch people like a John Jewett or like a Fuad or people like that, and you can pick up so much information that will just speed up your own process. So you don't have to do so you don't have to learn from scratch or, teach yourself or make the mistakes, because people around you nowadays can actually speed up that process.
But do you think that you need to make mistakes on your own by yourself? Because only really you know what your downfall, not your downfall, but your areas which aren't your best. Do you think you have to, like, don't you think that making mistakes by yourself is how you actually really truly understand what you need to do? I mean, it's all good someone telling you, JP going, this is how you lift or whatever, or this is how to do this, but surely it has to come down to personally experiencing those situations, because that's only really when you gain that knowledge through knowing yourself and doing it yourself.
You can still do that and work with a professional. You can still do that and work with a professional. If someone doesn't have the funds for a coach, then yes, of course. But even if someone doesn't have the funds for a coach, they can still do a lot of research. I've read the Mike Mentor books about training, about high intensity training. I've read them. I've got the Gareth Llewellyn book about PEDs. So, but I've also got access to YouTube, and I've also worked with the best coaches in the industry from the very beginning, since I got into bodybuilding. So that would be my advice to any youngster, is you don't need to try and figure it all out on your own anymore.
Yeah.
If you want to be the best, and if you have aspirations of being a professional, or if you have aspirations of being an Olympian, then why waste your time doing years of figuring out yourself when you can just speed up that process and message like a James Hollingshead, or message like a JP, or someone that will give you their time.
Yeah. I want to ask you, how do you balance training as heavy as you do, and staying injury free? And what is would you say your most impressive lifts have been in your lifting career? Because I remember you put up a story on Instagram and you're like, if I fully focused on strength, I could pull 350 kilo and whatever. And I saw that and I was like, I know you can. So I just want to know what your most impressive lifts have been in your opinion, and how do you deal with doing those weights and staying injury free?
Staying injury free for me is a case of everything that I do, I know I can. I'm doing everything that's in my capability. I've never approached anything in bodybuilding and think to myself, I know, that's a bit touch and go. I'm not sure if I'm going to come back from this. Especially when I'm doing pressing movements, if I'm doing a heavy press, I'm very conscious about a pec tear, very, very paranoid about pec tears. I just always have been. So I think when you are, trying to stimulate muscle, or, trying to build muscle, you don't need, or you shouldn't be doing any danger reps that you're not really sure if you're going to come back from or not. I've had a lot of tendonitis. I've had a lot of tendonitis. And I do have, aches and pains, especially my knees. But that's not come from bodybuilding. My knee injuries they came from rugby, because I've had multiple knee surgeries. So in terms of staying injury free, I would say the main one for me is staying within my limits, knowing that I'm able to do it. I think that's the main one for myself. And of course, you do have your joint care supplements, stuff like that. The one I use often is Join In from JP. That's brilliant, just brilliant. And then if I need BPC, I will use BPC, but I never really need it. So yeah, in terms of most impressive lift, I would say if we go on to total impressive, I would say that anything free bar is the most impressive, or dumbbells, because machines is easy. You know, no one gives a fuck what you did on the leg press. In terms of free bar, I've done 170 seated shoulder press overhead barbell for 3. I would say
Yeah.
that is probably the most impressive thing I've done.
That is crazy.
I think that's the most.
Yeah.
In terms of legs, I've done 260 squats, and I did that just after lockdown. I did that for 8 reps.
That's mental.
I've not been able to do that since, but I haven't tried since either. And then straight leg deadlift, I have done 290 for 3, which I could do better with that. I think I could do better with that now. Bench, I think 4 plates, flat bar for 10 reps was good. And in lockdown, I think there's a video of me somewhere doing 210 in the house. In the house. So yeah.
That's pretty cool. I think another question I want to ask you, and I think you've mentioned this briefly earlier on in the podcast, is about managing relationships and socialization within bodybuilding. And I you talked about this before, but what would you say if anyone watching this is wanting to do a prep? Because there'll be a lot of people watching this, I hope, and be like my age. And what would you say? Obviously, like, what is that period of being social and being relationship wise? Because obviously you said that your partner almost left you in that period in your first prep. How did you recover that, and how do you deal with that going into next preps and everything?
Oh dear. Right. Okay. Okay. A lot of apologizing. Right. Okay. What would I tell a young individual that is in a relationship, that is going through a prep?
Yeah.
It will definitely test the relationship. It will definitely test the relationship, but it will show you who you are as well, and it will show you who they are as well. A prep will test the relationship, and it will tell you everything that you need to know about you and your spouse. Everything that you need to know, whether it's going to work or not, because there are 2 options: you either stay or you leave. Now, if you are doing a bodybuilding prep, it's not their fault how you're feeling. It's not their fault what you're going through, what you're experiencing. So it's important to not be a cunt, basically. It's important to not be a cunt to the person that is there for you the most and supporting you the most. But you have to somehow find that balance on prep of just keeping things at bay, because there's not going to be many social occasions. There's not. There really isn't. Like, you know, you might be able to take yourself to the cinema. You can take yourself, you know, for long walks. Outside of that, for 20 weeks, 25 weeks, it's more of a sacrifice on her or on his end than what it is on the athlete itself, because the athlete wants to do it. The athlete wants to compete. This is what they really want to do. And the only person that is sacrificing anything through prep is the person that you're in a relationship with. So don't be a dickhead with the person that you're in a relationship with, because that's the person who can no longer go on nights out for food, can no longer do things with you like you used to do. So it's very, very important that people recognize that, and don't be a dick or don't be a cunt with the person that, you know, is supposed to love you. So
Yeah.
accept for 20 weeks that there is no socializing, that there is no, you know, your usual relationship, that there isn't that. Mate, I've got 1% battery, and I've just realized that. 2 secs.
No problem.
Right, okay, man, we're good. So yeah, accept that, you know, for your prep, the relationship isn't going to be the same. And don't be a dick to the person that is going to support you through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Basically.
I've got a question. I mean, you have to answer this because I know some people are a bit sketchy about this, but it's not necessarily like about the specific like amounts or anything, but PEDs. I just want to talk about just briefly what should be your experience with PEDs, what has it done in your life, and what have been its impacts on you and your life.
Okay, what's the first question about it?
So I'd say the first question is what's your experience about PEDs? Has it been good? Has it been bad? Have you had bad side effects? Has it affected you in a bad way? Because I think everyone knows, like, I'm not going to talk about like what it does. I think everyone knows that taking steroids makes you stronger and bigger. That's a lot. But I think what's interesting is actually the side effects that come with it mentally and mentally. More about that, yeah.
Yeah, there are some compounds that I don't do because I've had a negative experience with those compounds. Just mentally, you know, I wouldn't do NPP or DECA, or I wouldn't do Halo. I wouldn't do neither of those things just because of the negative impact it had on me. They've had on me mentally. But in terms of running PEDs itself, you're really messing with your biochemistry. You are really messing with that. And if you don't take, you know, certain auxiliaries, then it's going to fuck you up basically. And then, you know, if you take too much tests, then you're going to have high estrogen, and then you might get gyno. So it will definitely fuck you up if you don't do it, if you don't do the right way. My experience with it, I would say the only time that my head goes a little bit messed up is the first 3 to 4 weeks of going back on cycle. The first 3 to 4 weeks where I reintroduced PEDs is very chaotic in my brain, very, very chaotic in my head until everything basically just settled in. That's the way I can explain it. And then once everything has, you know, settled in, I'm fine. But then when I come off, for that first 3 to 4 weeks when I come off, when everything slowly leaves your system, that's a bad patch for me as well, mentally. But when I'm on cycle, I'm fine. I'm no different to how I am in person, on cycle or off cycle. I'm just me. You could not change me. But yeah, I would say at the beginning of a cycle doesn't sit well with me, and after I come off, it doesn't sit well with me either.
But overall, you'd say your experience has been not that bad in terms of like you haven't had any like serious health implications, you haven't been in hospital or anything. It's generally been quite positive.
Yeah,
You just sort of got the brunt of just what steroids basically gives you, and that's obviously
yeah.
coming off and on cycle and everything like
Yeah.
that.
I've got to watch how much I take. Kidney function for me is isn't isn't bad, but it isn't where it should be either. So I wouldn't be able to take a lot, even if I wanted to, because I would be
Yeah,
the envelope too much with my kidneys.
yeah. Okay. And just touching basis on online coaching, and I think this will have a lot of value because there'll be quite a lot of people watching this who maybe are online coaches who are wanting to be online coaches. What's your experience with online coaching? I know you said you started it. Was it 2021 or something, but after COVID or something? Been your experience with it? How have you learned to help other people? And what would be your advice to people wanting to be online coaches or are currently online coaches, and maybe you can help them be better in that way in what they're doing? Because I think a lot of people are online coaches, but their approaches differ, and I don't differ a lot. And I think it'd be interesting to see what you have to say about it.
So if we go to people who want to be online coaches and are starting out in the industry, don't go online first. I wouldn't go online first. I would build up my business on the gym floor first, working with
Yeah,
personal training clients, having that experience. Because if you can't market yourself on the gym floor and be confident enough to go and speak to people on the gym floor about your services, how on earth are you going to be confident online? I don't know. So
mm,
better to have that in-person thing first and build that. And then from there, you can add online coaching into your services. And then if you add online coaching into your services and maybe, 5 or 7 of your PT clients invest in that, and then you put them on a weight loss program or a shred program, and then you coach them for, I don't know, 12 weeks, and you have then got a portfolio of 7 people that not only that you've PT but also coached, and then you can show that as your proof
yeah,
you're actually any good at what you're doing. There's no point
yeah,
starting an online coaching business with no evidence that you can actually do the job.
yeah,
You need proof that you can do your job. It's like anything, isn't it? Like if you apply to be a mechanic, you need proof that you can actually do a service on a car.
yeah, without a doubt.
So that's the same with online coaching. Build your business that way. And then those 7 people will do your marketing for you.
Yeah,
They'll be your word of mouth. They'll
mm,
talk to their
mm,
friends. They'll talk to the family members. And then someone will see them at the shop. Oh, you look good. Well, actually, yeah, I've been working with that coach or that coach. And then that will raise interest. And then those people are going to, inquire with you. You're going to coach them. And then if you do a good job with them, they're going to tell their mates and their mates.
yeah,
By the time you actually, do online coaching full time, you've already got your client base and you haven't had to do any marketing, social media marketing, because you haven't needed to.
yeah,
You have you have gotten to where you are now by actually being good at your job. So being good at coaching before you get into social media marketing.
yeah. And that honestly, I think that is I haven't actually heard of anyone talk about that on social media, and that's a very, very good point to make. If you're wanting to be an online coach, make sure you've got the proof, because the proof will ultimately be your marketing itself, because people talk, and that is the best way to get across. And also, as you said, if you do it physically, the credibility you've got is so much more than just saying it is online, because anyone can say anything. Not everyone can actually act on that. Yeah, that's great advice for anyone who wants to be an online coach for sure. Um, and just the last few things I'd say, what would you like your legacy to be in terms of who you are? What do you want your impact to be once you're gone in bodybuilding and life as an online coach? What do you think your message would be to everyone once you've gone? Or, if that makes sense.
That everyone that ever crossed paths with me knew that I was honest and straight up with everyone, and that I also helped as many people as I could in one way or another. Not just through coaching, but just through speaking to me and just taking advice.
Yeah,
I've, if I've done that, I've done okay.
yeah, that's a good message. I think if you could speak to your younger self, what advice would you give for him at that point in life?
Don't let anyone else tell you what to do. Doesn't matter who it is. Don't let anyone else tell you what to do, because I did that my whole teenage life. I allowed other people to tell me what I wanted, I allowed other people to tell me what to do, and other people dictated my life for too long. And I would be much further in certain aspects of my life if I would have just done what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
So nowadays, you can't tell me what to do.
yeah,
I don't want to do something, or if I don't want to be a part of something, or doesn't matter who it is. Like, if I don't want to do it, I don't do it. So
yeah,
that would be the main one. Whatever you want to do, doesn't matter how stupid it sounds to someone else. If it means something to you, then go for it.
yeah. I think that's a very important thing. I think you've only got one life. It's your life. It's no one else's. If you want to do something, you should do it, no matter what anyone says. And that's a great message. Um, the last thing I'd ask you, is what is your plans for the future? What's next for you in
So
the next few years?
I'm not competing for the next 2 years. So for me, it's just taking this business as far as I can, because bodybuilding is in autopilot mode. I don't need
Yeah,
to think bodybuilding because that's what I do. I don't need to think about that. It's just so in me that I don't need to think about it. But there's work to do yet with the coaching business. So if I can, take that to the moon, I will.
yeah, and that's a good message. Just to finish off, was there any questions you got on your Instagram story which you'd like to discuss or anything?
You know what? I had none.
Yeah, none. No worries. I think we've
So,
answered a lot of them if they were going to be
Instagram
asked
is
anyway.
terrible for that. Instagram is terrible for that. It's not the same app as it used to be. Did you have anything?
No,
No.
no. But I think we've gone over everything. I think this has been a really, really good podcast. How do you feel about it?
Good. I'm good. It went well. I think it did.
Yeah. So just to finish off, what's your final message for anyone watching, or anything? Just the last thing to finish off on.
Well, I what?
Your last message, like anything you want to say to finish off on, if anyone's still here.
Last thing to say to anyone
Yeah,
is to not care what other people think.
yeah,
Don't care, doesn't matter what other people think of you, what their opinion of you is. it doesn't matter. The only opinion that really matters is the one that you have of yourself, because you have to live with you till the end of your days. So
Yeah,
be kind to yourself.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great final message. Just stop caring what other people think. It's your life. Do it how you want to do it.
Yeah.
Um, if you want to find, I'm going to say his name wrong again, Llion. I'm going to put your Instagram in the description. Llion Evans _ Team HD. Give him a follow if you don't know him already. Yeah, great podcast. Thank you very much for being here and giving me your time. I really do appreciate it.
Really good.
Yeah, thank you very much, Llion. I hope you have a nice rest of your day.
And you, man.
See you later.